We're good. All right, so let me just repeat a little bit of that because we got a few people absent. When you are absent, what do? You go to Canvas. It'll be on there. The assignment, the guided notes you can print off. You can put off the class notes, and then do the homework and just submit it like you were here. All right. So anytime you're absent, you should hopefully be pretty seamless transition back. You should be able to keep up. Now I know. I mean, if there's times like you're puking your guts out for 24 hours straight, that you can't get to all your work and you get a little bit of extra time. But if you're just not feeling good and you can get to your work, do that. Okay, do that and keep up with everything. All right, graph paper is kind of needed for this. I can help out a day or two here, but try and get that if you haven't already gotten that. I see some of you already pulled some of that out. More or less for homework and that. All right, you got your coordinate plane. You got your axes, you got your x-axis, you got your y-axis, you got your origin. Big thing here, I think that you're least familiar with is the quadrants. Okay, and they have to be labeled that way. So if I talk about quadrant 1, you got to know where I'm talking about. That'd be the top right hand. If I'm talking quadrant 2, okay, top left, quadrant 3, bottom left, quadrant 4, bottom right. They're given with Roman numerals. Okay, good old Roman numerals. So they usually don't write the number 1, okay, or the number 2. You do, okay, the Roman numerals where you got 2 marks there. And especially 4, that's a I and then a V. Okay, so make sure you understand that. X-axis is horizontal, vertical is y-axis. Okay, going through there. All right, not on your guided notes. Where is that point? Okay, you know how, Zane, do you know how to show me where that point is? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How would you tell me where to put it?
Go over 3 from the x-axis.
Which way over?
Oh, to the right.
To the right. So you start at the origin, 0, 0. So go right 3, and then what?
And then go up 4.
Okay, and that is correct. That is the point. 3, 4. That gives you a specific point on a coordinate plane. Latitude and longitude are kind of like ordered pairs. Okay, tell you what way you go left and right, tell you go up and down. So just making sure you know that. So points in the coordinate plane are described using what's called an ordered pair. 3, 4 with parentheses. So you got an x coordinate. The x is always first. So this tells you which way to go left and right. And the 4 is your y coordinate. That tells you how far to go up or down. Okay, up or down. And just like I said here, the x coordinate tells you how many units to move left or right. And y coordinate tells you how many units to move up or down. All right, so now you got that big coordinate system there. All right, where is that point? 3, 2. Okay, Connor.
You're going to go to the right 3 and up 2.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. Put a dot there, point and label it with little capital A. Actually label it. And does it say graph each point? And then yours says name the quadrant where the point is located. So you got that additional information. Preston, what quadrant is that in?
1.
1. So Roman numeral 1. So, or you can write quadrant 1 either way. Negative 4, 1. What quadrant is that going to be in before I graph that? Okay, Jaylee?
2.
Not 2. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. You are correct. Negative 4, 1. Put a little b there. Quadrant 2. 2, negative 5. What quadrant is that going to be in?
4.
Quadrant 4. So 2, go to the right 2, you go down negative 5. That is the C value. Now, when you write quadrant 4, okay, IV together. 0, 3. 0, 3. What quadrant is that in, Allie? Trick question. It's not in any quadrant. Okay, it's on an axis, so you cannot tell me it's in a quadrant. It's 0, 3. Now, this is probably the ones that are on the axis where I see the most mistakes. Make sure you put that straight up because it tells you the 0 tells you do not move left or right. You move up 3. And now that is not on a quadrant, it's on an axis. So you would not answer that. I think you got E, right? Negative 3, 0. Well, what quadrant's that on? It's on an axis. It's on the x-axis. So E is right there. And I got a bonus one for you because I don't think that one's on your paper. Where's negative 2, negative 3? Okay. Sam. Quadrant 3. So negative 2, negative 3. Put a little F, and then I'm going to put quadrant 3. So if it's not on, no quadrant on there. Make sure you label A, B, C, D, E, F. They should all be labeled for that so that you can look back through that. All right, that's A. You got to be able to plot points. Okay, plot individual points. Make sure you know your quadrants. Go through that. All right, Connor, just pretty familiar with that?
Yeah.
All right, Christian, good with that? All right, Austin? All right, good. I don't want to assume too much. All right, now we're going to deal with equations in two variables, like we have an x and a y. Before it just had an x and we solved for that x, but now we're going to end up getting graphs. When you substitute a value for x, you generate a new value for y. Okay, the x is typically called the input, the y is called the output. And you usually get an ordered pair. So just think about this, if x equals 2, okay, well what is it, y equal? If x equals 2, make sure this is making sense. Grant, what does y equal?
Y equals 10 times 2 plus 5.
Which is?
20 plus 25.
25. So this gives us the ordered pair 2, 25. Because when I plug in 2, I get back 25. What about x equals 5? Okay, what's that going to give me? Okay.
55.
55. 10 times 5 is 50, plus 5 is 55. So it gives me an ordered pair 5, 55. So when x changes, what happens to y? It also changes. Okay? So make sure we know that. Flip it over. Go in the back here. All right, go on the same thing. An engraver charges a setup fee of $10 plus $2 for every word engraved. Write a rule for the engraver's fee. Write ordered pairs for the engraver's fee when there are 5, 10, 15, and 20 words engraved. All right, what do you think a rule could be, okay, for his fee? Okay, what would a rule be for his fee? Okay, any ideas, man?
I don't know.
Not sure. Okay, just think through there. Any ideas, Preston?
So you only charge every 5 words?
No, he's going to charge per word. They just want you to plug in those numbers. But we got to come up with a equation first.
An equation like we just had on the previous slide.
Yes. Connor?
10 plus 2x.
But it has to have.
As an expression, not an equation.
So we got to throw an equals in there. So an equals, huh?
I put y equals 2w plus 10.
She says y equals 2w plus 10. Okay, and the w stands for what? Every word. The 10 stands for that amount. Now, since we're just talking about x and y, I agree with this 100%, but I'm just going to replace the w with an x. Okay, just so that we use that. So go ahead and write that down. Y equals 2x plus 10. That is your rule for the engraver's fee.
Very important to use x and y here because of the graphing. Okay, we have an x-axis and a y-axis. It's going to help you keep that stuff straight.
Okay, it says write ordered pairs for 5 words, for 10 words, for 15 words, and 20. Well, all that tells us to do is plug in 5 for the x. Okay, well, what's 2 times 5? It's 10 plus 10 is 20. So the y value would be 20. Okay, go ahead and plug in 10, 15, and 20 into that rule. into that rule or that equation. Morgan, what do you get for 10? 10:30. All right, what do we get for 15? Jay Lee, have you done 15 yet?
Yeah.
What did 40? Good. And Colin? 50. Now, a lot of times you're going to notice patterns. Should notice patterns. Okay? And so you want to figure out the pattern. So, 5 goes to 20, it goes up by, the Y's go up by what every time? 10. And the X's go up by 5, but we told you what to plug in for the X's. Okay, we told you. So you want to come up with a rule to designate what the cost will be. Okay? All right, when you graph ordered pairs, okay, they may create a pattern. Sometimes they're just random, depending on what it is, but sometimes they're going to form a pattern. We really want to explore that. Now, in this case here, this is the rule or the equation. Y equals 2x plus 1. Now, they're telling you which ones to put in for the input. They're telling you which ones to put in. Okay? And it says graph the ordered pairs and describe the pattern. So we're going to plug in and put underneath the x in the x column, put in -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And basically we're going to plug them into the rule and we're going to figure out what y is. Now for these first few, I'm going to go through the steps. So y is 2 times -2 plus 1. And then what does that end up equaling? Okay, I'm going to go through this so I have it written down. Huh?
-3.
He says -3. So I'm going to put -3 here, and now that gives me the ordered pair -2, -3. So this is what we want to end up with. All right, now for each one, I'm going to plug in -1 where the x value is.
Your attention, please. All 11th graders who have not yet had their pictures taken this year or who would like a retake, please report to the main gym now.
Preston, what do we get for
This
that one?
announcement is for all 11th graders who have not yet had their pictures taken this year or who would like a retake. Please report to the main gym now.
I can pull out the calculator. Pull that out. And what'd you get? -1. So we get the point -1, -1. So we're going to plug in now 0 for x. Okay, everything else stays the same. Now, what do we end up with for that one? Morgan, you got that back there? She gets 1. That's correct. All right, now plug in, if you haven't already done so, plug in 1 and then plug in 2. Okay, and just fill in, like we have, fill in the table, and then fill in the ordered pairs. Josh, do you have the answer for when you plug in 1?
Oh, is it 2 and then 1?
No. All right, when you plug in 1, what do we get back for y? Okay, did you get these? All right,
Yeah, I
this.
wrote them down.
All right, what's this telling us to do? It says take 2x plus 1. Whatever I plug in x, I got to multiply it by 2. Take that answer and add 1. So I plugged in a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 gives me 3. So that should be a 3 here. All right, Josh, still here. Take a look at that last one. You're going to take in a 2, plug it in for x. So what's 2 times 2? Plus 1 is 5. So we get the 0.25. Now on your grid, we want to plot those points and see if there's a pattern. Do not connect them, okay? We're going to plot them one at a time. The first one was -2, -3, right? -2, -3. The next one was -1, -1. which is in quadrant 3. What was the third point? 1 comma what? 0 1. Sorry, 0 1. 0 1, and then 1 3, right? And 2 5. All right, just leave those. Does it form a pattern, or are they just random? There's a pattern. What's the pattern? If you would connect them and make a what? Line. Do not connect them at this point, so just draw that pattern. So yes, there is a pattern. And it's a line. What we want to do is look at the equation and figure out what part of the equation makes that pattern happen. And we'll deal with that in the next few days. So right now, it looks. Okay. All right, the next one. Okay, y equals x squared plus 3 minus 3. All right, this one gets, what would be a proper term? Massacred, because everybody does it wrong. Okay, now you just have an xy column, right? Okay, that is fine. Under the x column, put -2, -1, 0, 1, or 2, and 2.
Yeah, it's already on this.
All right, they're already there? Okay, so they're telling you what to plug in. All right, so what do we plug -2 in? Now, I have this little output in 1. I know you don't, but you should be able to do this. You can write it beside it. But what do we get when we plug in -2? This is going to determine whether this whole thing is right or wrong for this first point. Because this is where I see the biggest mistake. So what do we get? Christian. He gave us -7. All right. You did a great job of showing us what not to do. And I appreciate that. Now, here's why. And I tell you what, 90% of the people do it wrong the first time.
I got it. Is it 4? Positive 4?
You're closer. You're closer.
1.
It's 1. Now, here's why. You're doing -2 squared. When you square a negative, you have to, and you use your calculator. You have to put in parentheses. Okay? So -2 squared minus 3 gives me 1. Now, make sure you understand, here's why. Because when you do -2 squared in parentheses, it gives you +4. Because what's it doing? It's doing -2 times -2. If you don't use parentheses, it'll give you -4, and then it'll subtract 3, and that's how you get -7. Do you have to use parentheses? Yes. Okay, because you're squaring a negative number, you're taking -2 times -2. And if you don't, it'll give you the wrong value. So that's going to be +1. So you need to have under there -2, 1 as that xy. So put a 1 under the y column. Okay, a 1. Let's make sure you have the point -2, 1. Y equals, now plug in -1 squared minus 3. Okay, what's -1 squared minus 3? Okay, hold on. It's -2. So put in -2 underneath that y column. Plug in 0. Now, if it's a positive number, putting it in parentheses will never, ever, ever hurt it. It won't give you the wrong answer, but you don't need it. It's not absolutely necessary. Okay. So, Jalen, what do you get when you plug in 0? You got your calculator?
Yeah.
Okay, so do 0 squared minus 3.
-3.
-3. Say that again?
I said I have it written down, it's just never dawned on me that's what that was.
Okay, good. So 0, -3. Plug in, now you plug in 1, you plug in 2. You plug in 1, you plug in 2.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, 2.
What, but I remember.
Here you got that. How'd you get negative 1?
I just want.
Okay.
Joey got that.
Oh, that's negative 1 times 4.
Which is.
Negative 1 times change.
It's like maybe.
So that's positive.
That's.
So then
Alright,
1 minus 3, yep, negative 3 minus 2. Okay.
What'd you say?
Just supposed to be right. Get on some slogan out there.
Strawberry jelly.
What'd
you get?
So let's get the first side of it.
Oh, you're right.
Negative. Whoa, final answer, what'd you get for your final answer, Joe?
Huh?
What'd you get for your final answer?
Negative 3.
Double check that. Cause you gotta do 1 squared minus 3.
Okay.
I have one.
Use that. Thing in your hand.
I don't.
Use
This
it.
thing is worthless.
Well, no, you don't, no, you gotta type it in right. Put in 1 squared minus 3.
2.
It's negative 2.
Negative 2.
It's negative 2.
So it's negative 2. So it's 1, negative 2.
It's negative 2.
There we go. And then 2 squared minus 3, I think, is 1.
Yes.
Okay, now we plot those points. We plot those points. Negative 2, 1 is right here. What's the next one? Negative 1, negative 2. 0, negative 3. 1, negative 2, and then 2. Is that a line?
No.
All right, thank you. It is not a line.
It's a tropic. It forms a box.
Well, actually, if we would keep going. Now, don't you connect yours. Okay, just look. Do not connect yours. Okay? That's what it is. We call it, and there's going to be a difference because some things are a V and some things are a U. Is this more a V or more a U? Oh, but we're bad at our letters.
Definitely you.
It's a U. Like, the U.
That is a U.
It's not a V, I'm
Christian?
If you said I was off, we got the same thing.
No. It looked, I didn't mean you were off.
You just
To me, it looked like, to my eye, it looked different. And I knew it was right. I was just trying to figure that out. Okay, so this does have a pattern. It is U-shaped. It's a V. It is U-shaped. Now here's why. Because in the equation, there's a square. That's going to give you a U every time. Okay, you're going to get a U every time. All right, now on that third one, all right, you remember what those bars are? Absolute value. And now you already have it down on your sheet, but the X values are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We want to use those. Now, when I take a look here.
Wait.
Yeah.
We have, it's negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2.
On the bottom?
Yeah, ours
Yeah.
is 1,
Well, like, no, it's the bottom.
Example
Okay.
3C is negative.
All right, no. Connor, yours says negative 2 there. What's it say there?
0, 1, 2, 3.
All right, so
Okay.
this should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I screwed up.
Okay.
So change those to
Yeah.
0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then just use them along there.
Got it.
Okay. So I see exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
All right, so when you plug in 0, y equals the absolute value of 0 minus 2, which is the absolute value of negative 2. Well, what's the absolute value of negative 2? It's always positive, it's 2. So that gives me the point 0, 2. So make sure you have that point. Y equals the absolute value of 1 minus 2. Well, what's 1 minus 2? That is negative 1. What's the absolute value of negative 1? It is 1. So that gives me the point 1, 1. If I plug in 2, what's 2 minus 2? 0, and the absolute value of 0 is still 0. So that is 2, 0.
Oh, whoops, just kidding.
3 minus 2.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding.
What's 3 minus 2 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. So I got the point 3, 1. And then the last one is 4 minus 2, which is 2, and the absolute value of that is still 2. All right, so I want to plot those points. 0, 2. Yep. Is that far enough?
All right, thank you.
0, 2. And what's the next point? 1, 1?
Yeah, it is.
2, 0.
2, 0.
That's a
4, 2.
Okay. Now, this one is V-shaped. This one is V-shaped. Because if you notice, like I said, don't write this on your paper, but if I connect that, I can connect it with a straight line, both directions. So the pattern the pattern is V-shaped. All right, we're gonna have to save this part for tomorrow. Okay, but you do have just 57 through 59. Just do that set. Now, the 28 and 30 and 31, graph these. If you have graph paper, do them on graph paper using a table. Yeah, hold on. Sorry about that.